Today we finish clear comprehension Sambazinya Papa. Clear comprehension is the subject of one short section in the great discourse on the foundations of mindfulness, the only discourse in which a full description of Satipatthana meditation is found. In this discourse, Buddha expounded four foundations of mindfulness: Kayanupassana Satipatthana, contemplation on the body; Vedananupassana Satipatthana, contemplation on feelings; Cittanupassana Satipatthana, contemplation on consciousness; and Dhammanupassana Satipatthana, contemplation on Dhamma objects. And Buddha said, bhikkhus, and again, a bhikkhu in going forward and going back applies clear comprehension. In looking straight and as well, he applies clear comprehension. In bending and stretching his limbs, he applies clear comprehension. Wearing the robe, carrying the bowl, eating, drinking, chewing, savoring, walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, he applies clear comprehension, etc. And the commentary says that by clear comprehension, yogi must also understand mindfulness, because the two go together. Without mindfulness, there can be no clear comprehension. But although clear comprehension is always accompanied by mindfulness, there can be mindfulness without clear comprehension. We should be aware that they are linked by concentration, without which clear comprehension cannot arise. Mindfulness develops concentration, and concentration develops clear comprehension, which is knowledge or wisdom. At the beginning of practice, there may not be clear comprehension. Initially, the yogi must make effort just to be mindful of the object. He may not see it clearly at first. It can take time to see that there are only nama and rupa, mind and matter, going on at the moment, with no I or any other entity as agent. But with the development of mindfulness, yogi will come to see that only the two things, nama and rupa, are going on at the given moment, and there is no individual, no person, no doer. If you are familiar with the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, you have noticed that walking and other bodily activities are mentioned more than once. The second section on postures of the body, Iriyabhata, mentions walking and going, standing, sitting, and lying down. The third section on clear comprehension first refers to going forward and back. Later on, it lists walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. The third section on clear comprehension first refers to going forward and going back. Later on, it notes walking, standing, sitting, and sleeping. Our practice is according to these 2 sections on mindfulness with clear comprehension and on postures of the body. As the commentary explained, the activities mentioned can be divided into 3 categories: those of long duration, middle duration, and short duration. Whatever the duration, yogis must be mindful of all of them. We practice mindfulness in order to come to see clearly that there are only 2 things, nama and rupa, going on at the time, and that over and above them, there is no soul, no person, no individual, no I. And that discourse continued. Iti ijatawa kaye kayanupasi viharati bhedawa kaye kayanupasi viharati ijata bhedawa kaye kayanupasi viharati. That means, thus, he dwells contemplating the body in the body internally, or he dwells contemplating the body in the body externally, or he dwells contemplating the body in the body internally and externally. And then it continues. Samudaya dhamma nupasiva kaya same viharati. Vaya dhamma nupasiva kaya same viharati. Samudaya vaya dhamma nupasiva kaya same viharati. He dwells contemplating the origination factors in the body, or he dwells contemplating the dissolution factors in the body, or he dwells contemplating the dissolution factors in the body, or he dwells contemplating both origination and dissolution factors in the body. or his mindfulness is established as there is this body only, adhigamāya. There is this body only. And that mindfulness is established to the extent necessary to further knowledge and mindfulness, anesitoja viharati, independent he dwells, clinging to nothing in the world. How does yogi contemplate the body in the body, internally, externally, and both internally and externally? When you are mindful of the activities going on in your own body, you are practicing body contemplation internally. After seeing the activities in yourself clearly, understanding that they are only dhatu, elements, and there is no person, there is no other entity, you may turn attention to the activities of others. Then you may infer that just as your own activities are only pure phenomena, nama and rupa rolling on and on, without a doer, so maybe those of others. In this way, sometimes you may infer the activities of others from those of yourself. This is practicing body contemplation on the body externally. At times you may practice it both internally and externally by alternating the awareness of your own activities with the inference of another person's activities. Going back and forth in this way, you are said to be practicing both internally and externally. Practicing thus, yogi reaches the stage of clear comprehension of non-delusion, asamoha. Then he dwells contemplating the origination factors in the body, or he dwells contemplating both the origination and dissolution factors in the body. This means that while you are being mindful of the activities, you may also see the causes of these activities, the causes of the different postures of the body. And you see that because there is the mind, there is the action. If you have knowledge of other Dharma teaching, that knowledge can be too applied here. Because there is ignorance, because there is avijja, there is this body, because there is tanha craving, there is this body. Because there is karma, there is this body. Because there is ahara, food that we eat, this body exists. In this way, yogi may practice meditation on the causes of arising of the body. When there are no such causes, there is no body. Yogi also may contemplate the vanishing of the body through the vanishing of the causes. At times, yogi may be aware of the causes of both arising and dissolution. According to late most venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, it is sufficient just to see the arising, the disappearing, or the arising and disappearing of the body. For this is what is meant by contemplating the origination, the dissolution, or the origination and dissolutions of the body. In the practice, this direct approach is more appropriate. To see the causes while yogi are concentrating on the activities of the body is more difficult than to see just their arising and vanishing. When mindfulness is fully applied to the activities, you cannot fail to see them arise and disappear. Seeing the arising is the same as contemplating the origination in the body. Seeing the disappearing is the same as contemplating the dissolution. And seeing both arising and disappearing is the same as contemplating both the origination and dissolution. This approach of direct observation of the rise and fall of phenomena shows that this practice is vipassana, not samatha. Only in vipassana you see the arising and disappearing of nama and rupa. Samatha meditation does not encourage seeing arising and vanishing. It encourages the notion of permanency. And discourse continue. Adhigamāya sati pijupattita hoti. Yawadeva ñānamataya patisati mataya anisitoja viharati nacha kenji loke upadiyati ewim bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupasi viharati. That means all his mindfulness is established as there is this body only. Adhikayoti. And that mindfulness is established to the extent necessary to further knowledge and mindfulness. When yogis see in this way, and sees nothing over and above this body, then the understanding comes to him that there is the body only. There is no person, there is no man, there is no woman, there is no I, there is no soul or any other such entity. This understanding, accompanied by mindfulness, strengthens the succeeding moment of mindfulness and understanding. Nacha kinchi loke upadiyati. When yogi understands this way, he does not cling to anything. He is not dependent on anything by way of grasping, attachment, or wrong view. Independent, he dwells clinging to nothing in the world. Thus, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body. When a person practices mindfulness meditation on activities of the body or an object, first he will see them clearly. Then he will see them arising and disappearing. When he sees the arising and disappearing of these activities and objects, he sees their impermanence. Seeing this, there's no room for him to be attached to them or to take them as permanent. The practice of mindfulness leads to not grasping or clinging to anything in the world. We practice vipassana meditation in order not to cling to the objects presented to us through the six sense doors. For when there is clinging, there is action dependent on the clinging. Whether the action is in the form of wholesome karma or unwholesome karma, it will surely result in the form of jati, rebirth, and with rebirth, jati, there is the inevitability of aging, disease, and death. Thus, when there is clinging, the cycle of suffering goes on and on and on. In order to avoid clinging to things, we try to apply mindfulness. With mindfulness and later with clear comprehension of things, yogis will be able to let go of namarupa, to free themselves from clinging to things and grasping at them. The knowledge and capacity to achieve this freedom grows when yogis meditate. For this reason, yogi must understand correctly the passage in the discourse on the four foundations of mindfulness. In the beginning of the Sutta, it is said that a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, the feeling in the feeling, the consciousness in the consciousness, the Dhamma in the Dhammas, are then clearly comprehending and mindful, removing covetousness and grief in the world. This passage is often translated as having removed or having overcome covetousness and grief, but it is not having removed. Yogi who has removed covetousness and grief, abhijja and domanassa, does not have to practice meditation at all, because he already has achieved his purpose. The Pali construction here, called the absolute, can denote action taking place either simultaneously, removing with the actions of the main birth he dwells, or prior to it, having removed covetous and grief. But it is not having removed. Yogi who has removed covetous and grief does not have to practice meditation at all, because he already has achieved his purpose. The Pali construction here, called the absolute, can denote action taking place either simultaneously, removing with the actions of the main birth he dwells, prior to it having removed. But as has been pointed out, having removed would be a contradiction in the context of the above passage. The appropriate translation is, Yogi dwells removing covetousness and grief in the world. What that means? That means simultaneous removal. When being mindful of the breath or any other object, yogi are removing, yogi are avoiding attachment, covetousness and ill will, grief with regard to that object. This removal of covetousness and grief arises simultaneously with the practice of your meditation. If your mindfulness is good, sometimes we lose mindfulness and then may have thoughts of attachment or anger. But if mindfulness is really strong, these kilesa, mental defilements, will not arise. While practicing mindfulness meditation, yogis are in one sense removing these mental defilements. But yogi have not removed them altogether or permanently. Only during the time yogi are applying mindfulness, yogi have removed them. But when mindfulness is lost, they may return to the mind. So here, removing does not mean getting rid of them absolutely or altogether. It is only a temporary removal. This is the teaching on clear comprehension sampajañña. Clear comprehension is to be applied to all activities from the moment we wake up in the early morning until we go to sleep at night. It is not to be excluded when we are taking showers, not when we are using the toilet, not when we are eating, not when we are walking. Whatever activities we do must be done with full awareness. So we have to apply mindfulness to all our actions so that the reality in them may be seen. When we see the reality in them, we are said to have reached the stage of clear comprehension of non-delusion in these activities. This clear comprehension of non-delusion will lead yogi step by step until you reach the stage of enlightenment. And another section is Dhatu Manasikara Baba, reflection on the material elements. The Buddha said, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu reflects upon this very body just as it is placed or disposed with regard to its primary elements. There are in this body the earth element, the water element, the fire elements, and the air elements. The section in this sutta talks about these material elements and how yogis should reflect on their body. Whatever position they might be assuming, whether they are sitting or walking, standing or lying down. They will reflect on their body with respect to these four primary elements. Traditionally, there are four material elements: the earth element, water element, the fire elements, the air elements. Meditation on these four elements is mentioned only briefly in this sutta. It is meant for meditators with quick understanding. That is for people of quick intelligence. The earth elements, dhatu, does not mean the earth as we know. It means something that is inherent in the earth and of course in other things as well. The state of being of the earth or the quality of stiffness, hardness or softness that are the characteristics of earth elements. And also we have the water element. Water element here means not the water as we know it, but its characteristics which are trickling or cohesion or fluidity. Trickling or cohesion of fluidity indicate the presence of the water elements. It is present in everything. And next we have the fire elements. It is not the fire as we know it, but the state of being of the fire, the quality of fire. There is heat. Heat or cold or temperature is the characteristics of the fire elements. And then we have air elements. The characteristics of the air elements are extension, expanding or distending. When you blow air into a balloon, it becomes extended. The fact that you can sit or stand upright and do not fall down is also the work of the air elements, which supports you from all sides. And the functions of air elements is to cause motion. When you move, your motions are caused by the air elements. Its manifestation is conveying. So in science, air elements can be likened to electron, and other elements are like proton and neutron. Meditators contemplate these four elements during their practice. You can observe these four elements when you are walking, standing, stretching, bending, etc. For example, when you walk, first, you lift your foot. The upward movement manifests the lightness in the foot. That lightness is caused by Tejodhatu, fire elements. When you raise your foot, there is movement. That movement is caused by the air elements. When you push your foot forward, this movement is also caused by the air elements. When you put your foot down, it becomes heavier, which indicates the presence of the water element. When you touch the ground or the floor with your foot, you feel hardness or softness both in the floor or in the foot. That hardness or softness is the characteristics of the earth elements. So when you make one step, you can distinguish these four elements. You can discover these four elements when your mindfulness is good. In lifting the foot, the fire and the air elements are evident. In pushing the foot forward, you recognize the air elements. In putting the foot down, water elements. And in touching the ground or the floor, the earth elements. In this way, yogis observe the four elements that are present in a single step, although at first you may not notice the presence of the four elements. When you practice diligently, you see these elements clearly, and you lose the concept of a being. You see now that there are just these four elements going, four elements standing, and so on. When yogis see only these four elements going and so on, you cannot see a person and lose the concept of a being. The observation of the four elements is explained in the Sutta with the simile. When a butcher is feeding a cow or is nourishing it, and then takes it to the slaughtering place, ties it to a post and case it, he still has the notion that it is a being, it is a cow. If someone would ask him, "What are you doing?" he would say, "I'm feeding the cow," or "I'm killing the cow." Even after having killed the cow, before he cuts it up into pieces, the butcher still maintains the notion that it is a cow. But when after cutting the slaughtered cow into pieces, he takes and puts the pieces on a table or at the crossroad, from that point on, he loses the notion of a cow. If someone would ask him, "What are you selling?" he would not say, "I'm selling a cow." So after cutting the cow into pieces, he loses the concept of a cow. In the same way, when yogis cut themselves into four elements, whatever they have, whatever is in their body is just four elements, then they will lose the concept of a being, a person. This meditation was taught by the Lord Buddha to eliminate the concept of there is a being. The simile given above should not lead to the conclusion that yogis must conceptualize the elements. The elements taught in Buddhism are in fact not concept, but are parts of what is called ultimate reality, which consists of consciousness, mental factors, metta, and nibbana. They are considered to be the real things in contrast to things in conventional reality. When yogi practice vipassana meditation, this will not lead to the attainment of jhanas like in kammatthana meditation. It leads to the attainment of proximate samadhi or excess concentration, upachara samadhi. When yogi practice meditation according to the vipassana teaching, they try to see the four elements in every movement, that is in everything. They will see these four elements as well as their mind, concentrated mind, appearing and disappearing. When yogi recognize the rising and fading away of nama and rupa, they are said to have achieved the basic vipassana knowledge. From then on, they will reach higher levels until they reach the end of vipassana and attain realization. There is the rising and fading away of the elements and of the concentrated mind that dwells on the elements. When yogi have reached this stage of seeing the rising and fading away of phenomena, they can be sure to achieve higher stages of vipassana knowledge until they reach the realization stage. So we have to stop our discourse for today. We'll continue next week. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, standing, walking, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.